Cheers! Hey guys, it's Kayla and this is On the Fritz, where I talk about books in a very hot mess fashion. So today I'm going to be doing my September wrap-up, and if you're new here or you forgot, I hate filming wrap-ups. I said I wasn't going to do wrap-ups anymore and that got away from me, but I read a total of 10 books in the month of September, and most of those were for the Tome Infinity and Beyond Round 3 readathon. So I have 2 books that aren't from that readathon, and then the rest are from that readathon. Okay, some quick stats before I get into the books. So out of the 10 books I read, 5 were from the library, 2 I owned, and 3 were from Amazon Prime. So it was kind of like a lending situation. 7 of them were ebooks, 2 were audiobooks, and 1 was physical. I like to do my wrap-ups in the order I read them. I tried doing it the other way by enjoyment, and this is just the way I like it. So let's get started. Okay, so the first book I finished in September was The Duchess Steal by Tessa, and this is book 1 in the Girl Meets Duke historical romance series. I gave this 5 stars. I friggin' loved it. This was only the second historical romance I've ever read. It was so funny. It was a marriage of convenience story, and I friggin' loved it. So in this one we follow a seamstress who is in desperate need of money for her rent. So she goes to the Duke in her area. I still don't really know how historicals work with terms, but there's a Duke there. And she's wearing a wedding dress, and she demands to be paid for the wedding dress that she created because he didn't pay her for it because his wedding got canceled. And instead of paying her for it, he proposes, and it goes from there. I had never read a marriage of convenience story before, and it was so much fun. So romances in general are really fun to read, but this one was just top level enjoyment. Okay, so now getting into my Tome Infinity and Beyond reads. The first book I read was Marcus by Ann Hackett. This is part of the Hell Squad series. It's number 1, and this is a sci-fi romance, and I gave it 3 stars. So this is like a post-apocalyptic story where dinosaur-like aliens took over the earth, and there's only so many settlements across the world that have humans living there, and they're still battling against these aliens. And this romance is between the leader of the Hell Squad, which is the squad that goes in and risks their life for these very risky missions, and between the calm girl. I can't remember what her title is, but she talks to them on the radio and helps them in their schemes against the dinosaur aliens. This was okay. I will continue on with the series. It was pretty angsty for the age range, and it was a lot of, in the beginning, them both pining over each other, but at the same time being whiny that, oh, they don't like me, they'll never like me, and I don't like that. So once we got past that, I got a lot better. Next I read Allegiance of Honor by Nalini Singh. This is the Side Changeling finale, so it's book number 15 in the Side Changeling series, which is a paranormal romance series, and I gave this one 3 stars. So this series had been wrapped up for a few books, and this one was basically just touching base with all the couples we had in the series, which sounds good, and it was good, but it read very slow, and it kind of just felt like a bunch of novellas pieced together with a slight arc story to it, that will go into and be the main story arc in the spin-off series. But I don't know, it kind of felt unnecessary. I felt like it could have just been a novella The Psy Changeling series is a paranormal romance series that is in a futuristic world where we have humans, we have Psys, and we have changelings. Changelings are shapeshifters, so there's shapeshifters of all different animal kinds. They're very passionate, they love fiercely, they have fated mates. The Psys are humanoids, they're humans, but they have psychic abilities. So there's a big range of different abilities, and some are very powerful, some are very weak, and they, up until recently, had practiced silence, which means they don't show any emotion. They don't love fiercely, they are very mute and dull in their life, and the reason for that is because way back in the day, apparently, certain Psys, depending on their abilities, would adapt murderous tendencies. So to prevent from more murders happening, they decided to suppress emotion to save their kind. And they think really highly of themselves, and they think that humans and changelings are far beneath them. And then humans are just humans, and they feel like they're at the bottom of the totem pole. So all three of these factions are constantly kind of battling with each other throughout the series. That's the main story plot for all of these books, is just different battles and wars against the three factions, and then each book has its own couple romance. Okay, so next book I read was Arc by Veronica Roth. This is part of the Forward collection on Amazon Prime. If you're a Prime member, you can borrow the ebook or audiobook for any of these books in this collection. I believe there are 7 books in the collection, 6 or 7, and they're all based around the prompt of what life is like during the end of the world. So during Arc, the plot is that there is a meteor coming for Earth that we've known about for the past 20 years. And we're following this group of people that are like the last people on Earth. They're cataloging as many things as possible. They're cataloging plants. And our main character starts to have conversations with this other man, this other scientist who's there, but he has chosen to remain on Earth and not leave with the final ship before the meteor comes. The story is very somber, and it talks about like the meaning of life and what life was like, knowing your whole life more or less that a meteor is going to come and destroy the Earth. So your entire life revolves around this meteor, revolves around evacuation drills constantly, always being prepared, always feeling on edge that you're gonna have to leave in any moment. These are all short stories, by the way. I really liked it. Look, I gave it 3 stars, but it's like a high 3 stars, close to 4 stars, I guess, if you really want to know. The next book I read was also part of the Forward collection, and it was Emergency Skin by M.K. Jemison. I gave this one 4 stars. So this one was very weird and very unique, and I really recommend this for everybody. So we are following a person who has a really top level important mission, and his mission is to go back to the evacuated Earth to get some certain items that are desperately needed on his current planet. He will be rewarded and praised among all of his peers, and he's really excited to go. So the story is told in second person, and the perspective is from the main character's conscience. But it's not just his conscience, it's his conscience mixed with like an AI, and the AI consists of all the founders of his planet. And it was so good. So we get to know the main character again through his conscience that's not his conscience, and his trip to Earth and what happens when he gets to Earth. And I loved it so much. This would so be a 5-star, but the conscience isn't the best point of view to hear from constantly, even in a short literary form. So, and you're not supposed to like the contents, obviously, but it was very good, and I really want more people to read it. So if you do read it or you have read it, please let me know what you thought down below. It was one of the most unique stories I've ever read, ever. And the final story that I read in the month of September from the Forward collection was Summer Frost by Blake Crouch. Blake Crouch, also, he was the curator and he was like the mastermind behind this collection. I had never read anything from him before. I gave this one 5 stars. I freaking loved it. So this is an AI story, and it's an AI from a video game that has woken up, and we follow this AI and the creator of this AI over a long period of time. So you don't just get this, even though it's a short story, you get years and years and years and years of storytelling. And that's all I want to tell you. AI's waking up and what it really means to be a human is just probably my #1 favorite subgenre in science fiction. And it was really great. The next book I read was Binti by Nnedi Okorafor, and I gave this one 3 stars. So this is about a girl that is going to space for a university that's out in space. She's the first person of her clan, of her people, to ever leave Earth. It's a very big deal. She doesn't really have the support of her family, but she's going because she wants to learn more and educate herself more and grow as a person. So she also has like some kind of ability or powers that is mathematical. I still don't understand exactly all of that, but the story is basically just about her and her culture and her self-identity that comes with that. And then it's told while she's on the ship going to this university and her meeting friends and all that stuff. This was one of those stories that, looking back, I liked it a lot more than I enjoyed it while I was reading it. I'm not sure why that is. Sometimes that just happens. I really like the ending. I will continue on with the series. It is a 3-book trilogy, novella trilogy. I really did like how it ended, but like I said, I just didn't enjoy the story while I was in it. The next thing I read was We Three, and this is a graphic novel by Grant Morrison and illustrated by Frank Quitely. So I thought that this was Homeward Bound in space, but it's not in space, it's on Earth. So it's like Homeward Bound, futuristic Homeward Bound with a lot of weapons, blood and guts, and it's really funny at the same time. So the artwork is very dark and ominous because it is a very gory book. I love the way that the panels were done. So there's a lot of experimental panels done in this comic book. There's a lot of play with the panels during montages where there'll be large pictures and then like smaller pictures almost within the picture. And so I had to really take my time and analyze the panels more than I probably have done with any other comic book I've ever read, which was fine because this one volume is an all-encompassing issue. So the entire story takes place in this one volume. So we follow 3 lost pets that have been turned into weapons, war weapons, military weapons. And the idea is that the army will save human lives by using animals that they can control remotely, and somehow the animals are freed and they escape, and it's just about what happens when they are freed. It's like I said, it's very gory, but it's very funny, and it's so smart. And the final book I read for Tome Infinity and Beyond Round 3 was Icy Passage by Ann Gimpel.
Mommy.
I paid for this book because I thought it would be kind of a trashy romance, like a trashy sci-fi romance. and this book was so dull. I DNF'd it at 50%. This is about single-celled organisms turning into multi-cell organisms, and they may or may not be killing people in Antarctica. Sounds really cool. The two love interests are on a boat going to Antarctica where the cells take place. The female character has some kind of ability where it's more than just like a sensing, like she has some kind of powers. I just don't really know what it was. But it was so dull. It was juggling a bunch of different things. The idea sounds pretty cool, but it was so dull. And like the whole book, just at least like the whole first half of the book, they're on a boat and ominous things were happening on the boat, but it wasn't that interesting. So I don't know. It was just so boring, and I decided I did not care at all about anything that happened. So the last book I read for the month of September was Barbarians Rescue by Ruby Dixon. This is part of the Ice Planet Barbarians sci-fi romance, erotic romance. Book number 14, and I gave this one 4 stars. So since we're so far in the series, I'm not going to talk about too much what happens, but the two love interests in this story are a chatterbox and a quiet, nice male character. He's not a quiet, grumpy character, but he's just quiet and a chatterbox, which I love that dynamic. It's really cute to see how, you know, she brings him out of his shell, and I love this series. I'm trash, alien trash for the series. Okay, those are all the books I read in September. That wasn't too bad. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.